Welcome to Education Now. I'm your host, David Jefferson Jr. And as always, we're glad to have you with us, and we're glad that you've joined Education Now. I'm your host, David Jefferson Jr. And today we have Naseed Gifted, who serves as the principal of Malcolm X Shabazz High School. And for those of you who do not know, Malcolm X Shabazz High School is?
Malcolm X Shabazz High School is named after El Hajj Malik Shabazz, but it rests in the South Ward of Newark, New Jersey.
That is correct. And we are taping this on May 16th, 2020. The situation of the COVID-19 pandemic has struck our world with a blindside, shifting its regularity and life as we know it, and our overall existence has changed and is ever changing, to say the least. And there's a lot going on. And so we're excited to have a talented man, a man I call a Renaissance man, today on the show. And it is an honor to have him on the show. And we want to get to know a little bit more about you, Naseed. Can you share with us, and I'm going to start here, I want to know about your background. How did you find your way to education?
I have a unique origin story. And my pathway to education is slightly different than those individuals because I was born, raised, and educated in Newark. Always felt the need to give back to the city that bred me. But my pathway comes through engineering. So I worked in electrical engineering for a while. I had a very unique experience in high school where I was 1 out of 10 individuals who was a part of this robotics team. And I actually got an opportunity to work with AT&T Bell Labs. And the unique thing about this experiences was that back in the early 90s, this was one of the first opportunities that the robotics program actually came to Newark. And this was the inception of the first competition in the US or the nation. And with that, being 1 out of 10, I actually had an opportunity to work with a number of engineers, but in particular, it was this one engineer that I favored that looked like me. And from that point on, I told myself I wanted to be an engineer. He actually was an electrical engineer. So fast forward, I set myself on a pathway to, become an engineer. I graduated from Science High School. I go to NJIT, where I graduated with my bachelor's in engineering. But during that time, I always worked with the community to help raise the next generation of technology leaders. And that's always been my plight. So I always work with the young people, with regards to that. Worked as an engineer, worked at PSC&G, worked at East Orange Water Commission, did a number of contract positions. And then 9/11 happens. 9/11 happens. And it was right when I was transitioning, as well as the industry being so hot. The industry was really, really hot at the time. I mean, when I say it was hot, I put the resume out and I would get 5 calls for offers. And, you just had to pick and choose, what offer you were looking for. So that's how hot the industry was. But I actually took that time right before 9/11. I actually I took a hiatus. I actually started traveling the world. I went to Senegal, went to London, went to Canada. I did some things that, most college individuals would have the opportunity to do, but growing up, poor and underprivileged, didn't have those opportunities to be able to do that. So that's what I was pretty much doing, during the time of 9/11. I actually had a significant savings that I was living off of at the time. I'm in my early 20s, don't have any kids or anything like that. So those things happen. And, like I said, 9/11 happened. And then, the phone calls that I was getting weren't coming anymore because, they were laying individuals off and all of those things. So I just was in a pivotal point where this was not an opportunity to get back into the engineering market. So fast forward, my money's getting low. I'm trying to find ways to get income. So I decided to substitute teach. I actually was working with my former high school, which is Science High, the robotics team, and I'm working there. I worked at Arts High School, and I'm traveling all over the city of Newark, just substitute teaching. and then got a position, a long-term sub position at Arts High School, where I filled in for a math teacher. And, you know, up until that point, you know, I'm kind of bouncing around, just trying to find my way back into engineering. And then I got this long-term sub position as a math teacher. And man, I loved it. The scholars, the students there, you know, empowered me and made me want to become an educator. And then from that point on forward, I wanted to become an educator. So took the praxis, went from sub to teacher, robotics coach, basketball coach, department chair, vice principal, and then now my last transition was principal of high school. So I've been at the very bottom and worked my way all the way up. So that's my pathway into education. And, you know, like I said, it was slightly different than most people. I didn't grow up to want to be an educator, but fell in love with it just through circumstance.
And once again, we are with Naseed Gifted, the principal of Malcolm X Shabazz High School, Al-Hajj Malik High School in Newark, New Jersey. However, his name is quite apropos, because not only is he named Naseed Gifted, but he literally has a lot of gifts that he brings to the table. And, you know, given everything that we've talked about before, we're taping this during the pandemic. We
Yes.
don't know how things are going to play out. Recently, the Commissioner of Education, Dr. Lamont Repollet, pushed, for some legislative change, and things seem to be coming together. I have to ask this question before I move on to what is conversation. How are you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing well. I'm a little overwhelmed.
Okay.
I feel like working in this virtual environment is more impactful than working. I'm going to reporting to work every day. As you can see behind me, I try to keep my home of the Bulldogs in the rear view. So I'm always checking on the school. But that's the community that we live in. Just worrying, just trying to make sure that we are addressing the needs of all of the people, not only my staff members, but all of the students, everyone who's touched foot inside of our building.
And I want the audience to know, there's a major history with Malcolm X Shabazz High School. There's a major history. There's a lot of prominent alumni. I mean, the great mayor, Sharp James.
Yes.
Senior graduated from there. I could go on and on with folks that I know who have graduated from there, to say the least. But to step into that role, and I'm even talking about, there's been great leadership in that school preceding you.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about, finding your niche in leadership at Malcolm X Shabazz High School, which is in the epicenter of one of the most challenged learning environments in the largest city of the state of New Jersey?
That is absolutely correct. I knew coming over here that it was going to be a challenge. We have been, first of all, Malcolm X Shabazz has a deep history, one of the largest, most profound alumni bases in the city of Newark, as well as in the state of New Jersey. So that is one of the things. They have a great history of championships. They're known for a number of championships, from basketball to football, to track and field, all of those things. One of the challenges that I knew coming in, just being, born and raised in Newark, is Malcolm X Shabazz High School has never been known for academics. And that is one of the challenges that I knew coming in. And then, being at Malcolm X is one of my heroes, growing up. I wanted to be able to be one of the instruments to be able to help turn that around and, just empower the community around the school to just like I said earlier, to impact that next generation of technology leaders. And that's the niche that I'm bringing into the market, coming from a technology STEM background, and then infusing those academies into the school. So this year, we actually have a number of STEM academies. We've just launched our engineering academy, which has a focus on biomedical engineering. We have our computer science, which is our Gerald Lawson Video Game and App Design Academy. where we have our students developing apps using the Apple platform, Swift Playground. And we also have our Madam C.J. Walker Natural Health and Beauty Sciences Academy, where you not only get your cosmetology license, we are working for our students to also develop their own products and services. So once they graduate, either, they become entrepreneurs or, further higher education with that. So they'll be better prepared for the market, accordingly, and be able to differentiate themselves and stand out because they already coming out with a product line, whatever the case is.
The chills on my body right now as a result of hearing the curriculum.
Yes.
I have not heard a curriculum like that.
Well,
ever. I mean, I got to pause. I'm not going to get past. I'm not going to gloss over this. I mean, I have a manuscript I'm following here. I'm going to put a bookmark here. And this isn't surprising knowing your background. And that's why it's important for us to really look at the top brass that is in the state working on education, the minds, because your background as an engineer. You mentioned AT&T Bell Labs. For those who don't know, that was the name of the company before they just shifted to AT&T. The Bell Labs. My father was a part of Western Electric. My dad went to MIT. And so to talk with you, a Black man on this show here, for my listeners, for my viewers, and to see how your background, which is housed in engineering, but expanded into education for the good. I mean, that's not a cookie cutter model. And once again, to those who are listening, Naseed Gifted, the principal of Malcolm X Shabazz High School, but and so much more. And a fun fact about him, he is the creator and writer of PB Soldier, which is a 2-time Glyph Comic Awards and Urban Action Showcase. And he's a nominee for that. And on top of that, he also has a major love for comics and the industry of comic books. And we just saw that here with him sharing with us some of the programming and curriculum that is unique. I remember that when there was a time where folks used to be scared to want to go to Malcolm X Shabazz High School. And when you talk about programming like this, that says, sign me up to go to Malcolm X Shabazz High School. Tell me a little bit more about your background as it relates to comics and the comic industry.
Well, it's real simple. Growing up in the 80s, not born in the 80s, but growing up in the 80s, watching Saturday morning cartoons. I had a fascination with animation and, just wanted to emulate a couple of things. I know I had a instance where one of my friends, and, he'd tell a story all the time of how we wanted to be Ninja Turtles. I wanted to be Leonardo, and I actually had a sword. He was Michelangelo. He had the nunchucks. And, we were fighting, and I actually cut him with my sword and everything. So, and he's actually was a principal and everything as well now.
Wow.
My origin kind of starts there, but it doesn't really begin. That's where the roots of it is. I collected comics for a very short while in middle school. Went to high school. It was all about, my focus changed to basketball, getting into my books and girls. That's what the typical teenagers do.
Yeah.
And then, comics were as cool, but I always had a fascination with animation. It wasn't until I actually had my own children, my son, I actually took him to see Incredible Hulk. And, I usually tell this story. I took him to see Incredible Hulk, and we had a conversation about heroes. And he could name every hero that, pretty much every individual in America could kind of name. Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, all of those individuals. And just to tell you what's unique about my household, we speak a lot about, Black history. And he knows about the 3 M's, Malcolm, Martin, and Marcus. He knows about Comedics, ancient Kemet, and, the Egyptian history and everything. So when I had the conversation with him, one of the things that initially got me upset was the fact that he couldn't name or on the forefront of his brain that none of the individual superheroes that he talked about were anyone who looks like him.
Hmm.
And initially I got upset, and then I actually set out to do something about it. Because as we know from adolescence, we learn name, picture association, or word picture association, right? So the word superhero, generates a certain image within your mind. And when we look at that image, we want that image to emulate something that looks like yourself, because you want to be embodied in the fact that you can be the superhero as well. So that set me off on a journey to develop my own comic series, so we can have the Black and brown children be able to look at, the word superhero and heroes alike and see someone that looks like them. And that sent me to NYU, where I took a number of courses, did research. I've gone to a number of Comic Cons. One of them was East Coast Black Age of Comics in Philadelphia. And then just kind of traveled the country, went to these number of conventions. And it wasn't until I went to New York Comic Con, right? And that's at the Jacob Javits in New York City, for those who don't know. And one of the things, I've gone there for a number of events, the Black Expo, Circle of Sisters, the car show, New York car show and everything. And I went to New York Comic Con, and it was just so different. Like, first of all, the line was outside, wrapped around a block. It's like,
that's it.
What's going on? What is going on in here that everybody is, so intrigued with this whole thing? But it's the genre in itself, the whole comic industry, the animation, the characters, all of that stuff. And I was like, I want to be a part of this. And one day I'm going to make sure that I put my footprint, to be a part of this industry. So with that, I also, like I said, I went to East Coast Black Age of Comics, and I met this phenomenal artist. His name is Mashindo. And his work is, and I don't want to even compare him to, like a Black Picasso, but if you had to equate him to someone, that would be like a Black Picasso in a sense. But he actually is on his own level, but just, comparatively speaking, where someone can relate to, the level of his artwork. And I said, one day I'm going to work with him. And then, about a year and a half later, because I work with local artists, high school students, a ton of other individuals, and he actually did my character designs. And then, then I did an audition for the actual book. And I've been working with this individual, Abel Garcia, for the last 8 years, developing the sci-fi comic book series. And here we are today. I've done 2 successful Kickstarters, been on Black Enterprise, been on Salon.com, ABC, NBC, all of those different platforms. And then, we just really getting started. So that's just, like my passion. So I actually have 2 full-time jobs, by day I'm the principal, at night I'm the comic book writer for the comic book series PD Soldier.
Yeah, but you're also a hero. You have a cape, brother. I'm seeing the whole. I'm serious. I'm
just doing work that the creator set me out to do, brother.
Well, once again, we're with Naseed Gifted, who currently serves as the principal of Malcolm X Shabazz High School. We're having a wonderful conversation. Huh?
Home of the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I love it. Home of the championship award-winning Bulldogs. And now, soon, with the leadership in place, students there are being exposed to different areas of industry as it relates to animation, as it relates to hair and biochemical, information education. So I want to shift now. And by the way, I want to say that I would love to have you on our Entertainment Now show that we do as well.
Okay.
We have entertainers and we talk about that, and we can go a little bit deeper. But now I want to shift a little bit back to, where we are in your role as an educator.
Yes.
One of the key things that we're dealing with is now with distance learning, virtual learning, and making that shift. How has your school and how have you all been able to ensure that students have had a good transition from the classroom to the remote environment? Can you walk us through a little bit around what you've had to put in place?
Yes. So one of the things that we actually had two phases to this. So one of the before we actually moved into the whole virtual online learning, we wanted to make sure that every scholar knew the available resources that were set out for them. So we made sure that each teacher developed, their own online packet that we had available on our website. Because some teachers initially were on Google Classroom, some teachers weren't. So so during phase one, everyone pretty much had their online work packet that they designed. And then there was a submission of that through email and everything. Then phase two of that was all teachers developed their Google Classroom platform. Mm-hmm. To ensure that, there was not only, beyond the packet, because the packet was, just work that they were, but the online instructional piece was happening. So we had to, get our staff members, because the students were more accustomed to the online learning platforms because they use Google Classroom in a number of their classes, just not in all of their classes. So the students had an easier transition, but we had to transition our staff members, the adult learners, to get out of their comfort zones and be able to develop videos and besides just assigning work, but, actually start the teaching aspect. So construct those instructional videos in the Google platform, and then just be able to navigate. We were initially using Zoom, then Zoom had some issues as far as hacking and everything. So then the district transitioned all video instructional videos into the WebEx platform. So then that was another hurdle that we had to navigate as well. So we provided virtual training. So generally we would have our staff development or PD days. So we actually had to do a virtual PD day just to get all of the staff members up and ready and on the same page, because you have different skill levels for staff members now, and then develop those expectations. So now all of our teachers are, have a Google Classroom. The students are assigned to that. And with this virtual platform, just navigating that aspect of, the virtual learning platform, just now we're working on, and I don't know if you want me to get into the obstacles as well.
Well, please go right ahead.
Okay. So some of the challenges, of course, was, the engagement. So the level of engagement. So now we are fully 100%. Everyone is on the, Google Classroom platform. All of our teachers have been trained in the Google Suite. So they are accustomed to that. Now we're just making sure that the actual lesson designs are engaging. They're doing, smaller snippets. So if you're talking about a 40-minute class, the 40-minute class is not designed where a teacher is teaching for 40 minutes, but they're designing direct instruction, as we call it, for a 5 to 7 minute segment. And then, of course, beyond that, with the small group instruction, large group instruction, and question and answers, and just being able to have a dialogue and discussion with the students virtually, so that is the, the instructional lesson design that we are working on. But once again, getting all of the students engaged. We have a number of our students, and it all depends on their family structure. So the family structure, we've noticed a couple of patterns happening. Students are turning stuff in at 1, 2 in the morning. And then there's a number of reasons for that. Of course, that may be the only time where it's just quiet in the house. And then when we talk about technology resources, so if you are in a family of 5, family of 4, and, initially when we did our connectivity survey, asking for devices and stuff, you may have a device in your household, but you don't have a device for every individual in your household. So if your parent is working from home, or if you have a sibling that's also working from home, everyone needs to have a device in order to be able to, navigate the online platform. And if that's not the case, and generally that is not the case, that every single individual, like I have a computer in my home, but I don't have a computer for each one of my children that are in the house or whatever. Everyone has a phone, but you don't have certain accessibility functions on the phone that you would need for a Google Classroom or other, virtual platforms and stuff. So you actually need a Chromebook or access to a computer to be able to do that. And then, some individuals just, they have connectivity, internet connectivity issues, which is because most of their Wi-Fi or their internet connection is coming from their phone. So if they only have the phone as their device, connecting to Wi-Fi and everything. But Optimum has been instrumental in, trying to provide resources and hotspots throughout the city for our families and everything. And then the school, we provided Chromebooks, to all those individuals to make sure that each student within our, in our school has a device to be able to, access the platforms and stuff.
We are with Naseed Gifted, principal of Malcolm X Shabazz High School. He just walked us through those obstacles that he has had to overcome and ensuring that, the ship is running smoothly and that students are taken care of and that we're measuring their growth and that we're able to provide a good remote environment.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, job well done, and 21 gun salute to how you are carrying out your leadership in this time period. Schools are oftentimes viewed as community hubs,
yes,
to say the least, right? And my background from the faith base as well as the
mm-hmm.
education and entertainment sectors. But with that happening at this time, how do you feel educators can reach out to ensure the social emotional learning is taking place during this distancing, if you will, time period? How are you able to meet that mark, or what do you think you're going to put in place moving forward to kind of try to meet the mark of the social emotional component that now has been kind of, I would say, shifted at this time?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I generally do is, if you look behind me, right there is the student entrance, right? I usually stand outside on the corner over to the right there, and I welcome my scholars into the building. And that's generally a part of what we do as far as the welcoming. And that is what we call our wellness check. So now that the students are not actually in the building, we've set up mechanisms where we can do our wellness check as well as what we call convocation. So we do weekly convocations with all grade levels. We use various forms of communication. We use social media. We use Blackboard Connect. We do daily calls. We use the Google Classroom. And then we use friends of friends to be able to kind of check in with everyone. But everything kind of starts with the teacher making that phone call home. So we make the phone call home just to do a wellness check, just to see how you're doing. We developed themes throughout the school spirit. So Monday is Mindfulness Monday. So, within your Google Classroom, there's mindfulness activities, exercises that you do, just to make sure that we keep you sane. Tuesdays is Tactical Tuesdays. Wednesdays is Whimsical Wednesdays, where you kind of showcase your creativity. Thursdays is Thankful Thursdays. So everything that you're thankful for. And Friday is Fabulous Fridays, where they get to showcase their Bulldog pride. So we kind of rolled that out with in conjunction with what the district was doing. But that was also a way to be able to do our wellness checks with our scholars. And then, we tried to simulate as close to school as possible. So we do the convocations on a weekly basis. I do a convocation with the staff members on a weekly basis, just to kind of check in with them. This is when I talk about check-ins, we're not giving them assignments. We're not doing anything. We pretty much give them information, resources, and just see how you are doing, how your family is doing. Are you eating? All of those things. If your family has lost employment during this time, we try to provide employment opportunities. We let them know that there are 16 food sites throughout the city that you can get breakfast and lunch on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, and let them know about that. And then, beyond that layer, then we have the support staff also checking in. We set up virtual office hours, and I mean, all of that comes from that first phone call and just seeing how you're doing. And then that's how we are able to kind of check in on the social emotional learning. Now, there are some scholars that we're still reaching out to that we, have a challenge on getting a hold of. But, through all of those different avenues that I talked about, we were able to reach every one of our scholars but one student. That is, super phenomenal because of the team of individuals who've been working diligent and hard to make sure that happens.
And about how many students do you have with all the grades there?
We have 374 students.
So for me, when you look at the percentages, that's like 99 point something 99. I mean, that you really hit the mark. So,
yes,
job well done. And listen, and I'm saying this knowing where you're positioned, but I'm also looking at Malcolm X Shabazz High School in such a new light, getting to know you in your role as a leader. You shared with us in a great way. I just love the creativity of how you all take care of the week. I love the convocation outlet. And you've also shared with us, how you've had to overcome these obstacles, which is really par for the course. The principal has so many hats that they have to wear. That's why I think your background, and we would consider you a polymath. And for the audience members who don't know, polymath, poly meaning many, math mean the area in which the focus may be. But a polymath is someone who's an expert in many fields. We're looking at our George Washington Carvers, our Benjamin Franklins, our even you could say Barack Obama. I mean, folks who are very well versed and credentialed in different areas, and then bringing that background to the role of principal, to the role of educator. Naseed Gifted has really done it, and he's done it well, and he's done it with a strong leadership. So we're proud to have him on the show today. We're learning a little bit more about what's happening, and let's talk resources. Do you feel that you've talked about Chromebooks, but are there other resources that you feel you could use or that could be needed, or even to pose this question to say, what resources can schools successfully maybe deploy for this time period for students and families? Do you think the Chromebooks is enough? Do we need to do more? From your vantage point, you're an engineer, I can only imagine. I mean, do Chromebooks really have the bandwidth, not even the bandwidth, but the fluidity for students to do what they need to do? Because I know your background's in engineering. How do you see that?
Well, I mean, when we talk about technology, how we always talk about financial literacy, there's a technology literacy as well. So we didn't actually have an opportunity to focus in on that, as a school. So being able to move forward, I think we're going to actually have, workshops or sessions where we will focus more on the actual technology, because we think that students come out and they know how to text. I mean, type papers and everything, but they know how to text. They know how to do short. They know how to do short media pieces, and they know how to put some stuff together. But when we talk about constructing a paper, doing a timed assignment, all of those different things, that actually takes some practice and just actually having a level of direction, and that's not something that we focused in on. As we navigate into this, and then moving more to a one-to-one. I know other districts, they actually have their students where everyone's issued a Chromebook as they would be issued a textbook. So to be able to alleviate that aspect of it, I know this virtual environment has shifted my thinking on a lot of things. I mean, even down to suspensions.
Mm.
About suspensions, shifting that to just an online learning platform. So now instead of like, okay, you're suspended
Wow.
for 4 days, I'm thinking like, you're just working from home for a couple of days, and then doing that restorative piece that way, so you don't miss out on the educational piece that goes on with that. And
Mm.
now, just reshaping our thinking on how to be able to reallocate resources. This pandemic forced my teachers to go into uh, a zone where they weren't as comfortable, being in. And adult learners are a lot more challenging than student learners. But like I said, I'm gonna say 99% of our students were already using some form of a Google Classroom and everything. Not in all of their classes, but in some of their classes. So in their English and in their math classes, maybe science, they were using it. But now it made the teachers who generally, like your phys ed and health, who generally didn't use a Google Classroom platform or a virtual platform as much, to have to step up, because that's the era that we're in now. And then when we talk about reorganizing your day, just being conscious of, the challenges that our family, our students and scholars have to go through, like if they're working all night, because they have jobs to take care of their family and everything, and they're missing school because of that, but they still want to do the work. This platform allows them to be able to still stay engaged and do the work, accordingly. I know there's a number of challenges that come along with that, but I think, just having a blended environment where, you have the piece where, they are actually on site, and then there's a virtual component so they don't miss any of the assignments. I think that will address, one of the challenges that we had was, the absentee rate, of students not, being able to come to school. And, some of them have a number of challenges. One of them being that they don't have a stable home. We live in a generation where, me and you, if we didn't have our parents, we would have our grandparents, raising us. This generation of young people, they don't have their grandparents or aunts and uncles. They're staying with a friend of a friend. They're over someone else's house, where there's no parental guidance or whatever. Somebody's paying the rent, but no one else, no adult there is actually, actually providing any type of supervision or anything like that. So it's up to the student to, just to have the fortitude and the resilience to want to do what's best for them at the time. And sometimes that's not always, they're not always making the best decisions with regard to that. When you have to make a decision on, if I'm going to go to school or if I'm going to eat or figure out where I'm staying, that's a challenge. That's a challenge for some of our young people, and that's actually a reality for them too. So you're just being able to understand their story. That's one of the main things. And then when we get into, the wellness checks and everything, that's what you're able to do, is be able to, understand an individual story.
Wisdom, advice, counsel is not easy to come by. But when we're able to sit down with someone like Naseed Gifted, then I would advise those who are listening to take some notes. Advice. Do you have any advice? If you could give a tip of advice or insight or wisdom to an educator, educators out there, what would you share right now?
The main thing, especially during this virtual environment, you definitely want to do wellness checks, but you want to be able to provide resources for all the families, because it's not just the students. We're talking about families that are stressed. I think there's a greater appreciation for educators at this time because of, the pandemic that we are currently in, but also having a level of compassion, and some flexibility. So generally, we're very stoic. Like, look, the assignment is due at 3:00 on Tuesday, and and you better have your assignment in, or I'm taking off points, and and all of those things. So a level of compassion and flexibility, because I've noticed just looking at trends that a number of the assignments that are coming in the wee hours of the morning. Not that they're not doing the work; it's just when they're doing the work. So a 3:00 deadline is not it's definitely there. As you want to make sure you have structure. Definitely want to have structure, but you also want to have flexibility. As long as you're keeping your scholars engaged, because what we don't know is what's going on. We can control what's going on in the school, but we can't control what's going on in the household. And we know that there's a number of families that are stressed. We start off our convocation with a moment of silence, just for those who are suffering, those who are recovering, those who lost people during this time, because a lot of that stuff is public, but there's a number of individuals who are suffering heavily during this time, and we want to be able to be conscious of that, and the only way we can is by being able to check in. And then the other piece too that we've been trying, and I can honestly say that we haven't got the participation level that we needed, but we've hosted a couple of events. One was the most successful one was our national signing day for our seniors, where our seniors showcase all of the college acceptances, as well as where they're attending in the fall. That was highly successful. And then we also hosted 2 poetry slams. So we hosted 2 poetry slams. The one just happened this past Friday. And I mean, look, feel, it just feels like, the ambiance was there, but we just trying to get more of our young people to be a part of it. Where these are platforms to be able to express themselves, be able to show who they are. And as funny as it may be, that a lot of our young people are shy on the internet unless they are going live and doing some other, other piece of, but, they go live all the time, but, when it's something productive and positive, I think they feel that their image, may be tainted or whatever the case may be. They may not be seen as the cool individual if they participate in these type of things. But it's actually, we try to give the young people voice and actually allow them to run it. So it's not something that I'm doing. It's something that all I do is I put together the date, and then I let the young people run it. They're the hosts, they're the the individuals who line up the talent and all of that stuff. I'm just there as a passive observer.
Wow, what a time we have had on the show today. I'm full. I really am. I really feel that not only myself but my audience has really grown to know a lot more. And I tell you, there's a feeling of confidence when you know what the leadership is doing. And I feel so confident for the future of Malcolm X Shabazz High School. They're in good hands. We closed the show out, Naseed, with the understanding of the title of the program, which is Education Now. If you had to, within about a minute or so, take that term Education Now, what does Education Now mean to you? What would you say, my brother?
With the Education Now, I would say that, we are in a state of transition, and we can no longer give a 20th century education to 21st century students.
That's a t-shirt. That's a slogan. That is a quote. Can I quote you with that?
Yes, you can.
We're going to go ahead and quote, and I will cite that moving forward, because I really feel that sums up the future of education. We want to thank you, Naseed Gifted, for joining us.
Having me, man. Thank you.
We're going to keep track of the great work that you're doing. We appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing in the way that you're doing it. Thank you for joining us for Education Now. We're going to see you next time. And remember, as always, school's in session. Take care.
Take care.